Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions. Back to the show is Oana. Oana was on about 6 weeks ago now, and we've been working together a lot on co-authoring a load of A9 stuff. So I brought Oana back today. Welcome to the show again, Oana.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here today, Danny.
You're more than welcome. So so we've co-authored a couple of articles, which you go to sellersessions.com, includes one of Oana's bots for attributes. We did a big breakdown on COSMO. I know a lot of people have covered it, but we went a bit more deeper than the surface level stuff. And then Oana built a bot for the attributes as well, which plays a big role. So go over to Seller Sessions, check that out. But the reason we're here today is because I was going through a series of papers and I looked at a patent, and it's from 2022 and there's a 23 update. But what I wanted to do is add more context to it. So I said to one, and I said, look, this is going to be a big project. Do you want to jump on board? And and here we are. So throughout this episode, we're going to do over 2 episodes, but I'll bring Oana back in. Do you want to tell the guys about the article? Because obviously it starts off as an article, right? And you worked on, we had different areas of the article. You went back and forth a lot on the patents, didn't you, with the comparison?
The 2 patents. Yes, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah. So you worked more on that side, on the writing side. Then I broke down, I think it's about 12 to 15 papers. I'd have to count the URLs for the evolution of the cold start, which is what people will no longer be calling the honeymoon period, because we're going to scrap that. I'm going to start using proper language now, as we're all grown up and out of school and everyone's got to learn to make some money off Amazon. So I did a breakdown of that. The article is going to come later. And then we had a discussion. It's like, okay, this is going to be difficult to break down some of this stuff just in text form, because it'd be thousands of words, right? So you've done a video which is working from the patent on what is on figure 3, which is the breakdown of the cold start mechanism. And then you'll see the videos. I'm not going to keep repeating myself. And then I've worked on figure 5. I think between us, we've done about 80 minutes of recorded content, when the idea was, we'll just quickly do a video for this section because it'll be a bit too heavy for people. But 25, 30 hours of recording later, 5 days of scripting and all the other work that's gone into it is probably some of the best work I've dropped, for sure. 4 years of working off the literature. And I brought in Oana, of course, and I rate her highly. You know, it's like, it's she said, "Are you sure you want to get involved?" And I'm like, yeah, and we push each other, don't we? So do you want to explain a couple of things that's happened? I said, I got fucking Jay-Z'd. I woke up one morning and she's done all this stuff. And I'm like, I've just been fucking ethered. And that drove me. I scrapped loads of stuff. And then you did the same, didn't you? You're like, I've got to record this again. So go through that. Our iron sharpens iron.
So first of all, I do like to officially thank you for getting me on this. Like, we were discussing, guys, we were just geeking out basically about A9 algorithm. And then Danny drops and shares the patent with me, right? So it kind of like blew my mind. And at that point, he was like, do you want to work with me on that? And he did, of course, he did, of course, tell me that it is going to be brutal. It is going to be massive. And it was. Like you mentioned, Danny, it's like so many hours of just going back and forth on the patents and working and pushing each other. But yeah, it kind of like had ups and downs between the two of us in terms of productivity and creativity. And yeah, I had a big start in the beginning, and then I kind of like slowed down. I went to vacation, but like on vacation I was working, and Daniel was like, look what I did. I was like, oh man, I need to stay up late now and try to edit that.
Yeah, but the point we're trying to get across, this isn't like competition about winning. Like, it's for us is like, actually, look, this is good. And my stuff is, that's why I use the ether thing. It's like, when Eminem features on someone else's record, it ends up being an Eminem record. And all the rappers would turn around and say, I don't want to get bodied on this track, right? Yeah. So they want to make sure that what they're doing is good. And that's what I mean by iron sharpens iron. And I think we definitely pushed each other here. So we're going to drop some bars. I'm going to take you to school, and this is going to be a proper science lesson. So without further ado, let's get into it.
For years, many, including myself, have talked about the so-called Amazon honeymoon period, a phenomenon where it is widely believed that every new product that gets added to Amazon gets a special boost in visibility during its first 30 to 60 days on the platform. The idea was simple. Since Amazon has no data on a new product, it gives it a temporary boost to see how well it performs, supposedly offering a golden opportunity for every new product. But what if I told you that this honeymoon period is more myth than reality? The truth is rooted in the cold start problem. In this article, we will be diving into these aspects and analyzing what really happens when you add a product on Amazon. The idea of the video is to simplify and show how the cold start mechanism actually works every time we add a new product to Amazon's catalog, what it works and what doesn't, by utilizing the figure 3 from the 2023 patent on the A9 algorithm. Now, I know some of you might find this article a bit too technical, but don't worry, there are just a couple of key points you need to understand without diving deep into how the algorithm actually works. These are prior predictions, posterior predictions, and posterior predictions calculated using the Bayesian formula. To simplify these, so prior prediction is an initial estimate made by Amazon about how a new product might perform before any actual user interaction data is available. This prediction is based on the performance of live products that have similar or the same product attributes. Posterior predictions refer to the updated ranking estimate for a product after real user interaction data has been gathered. When it comes to posterior predictions utilizing the Bayesian formula, this refers to an updated estimate on how likely a product is to perform well, given both prior data from the similar products and minimal amount of interaction data, like clicks and purchases that the product has accumulated. The important takeaway is knowing how Amazon handles new products and what you can do to boost your visibility right from the start. So let's dive into how the cold start problem really works and why it holds the key to your product success. What people refer to as the honeymoon period, launching products on Amazon, is actually referred to in the science papers as the cold start. And you'll find a handful of these referenced in the article. First, let's talk about what the cold start problem actually is. So when a new product is added to Amazon's catalog, it enters the ranking system without any data. No clicks, no purchases, nothing. This lack of data makes it difficult for Amazon's ranking algorithm to determine how relevant the product is to search queries. So essentially, the system is cold on how to rank it, which can significantly impact its visibility. Without that initial data, new products often struggle to gain traction, and that is called the cold start problem. Now let's see what Amazon does in order to address this issue. Just as a side note, in the article, you will notice that there is a dedicated section to the 2022 patent and a breakdown of figure 3 from both the 2022 and the 2023 patent. While the 2022 patent addresses the cold start mechanism with a static prediction, figure 3 from the 2023 patent, which we will be analyzing shortly, marks a key evolution by dynamically incorporating query item pairs and behavioral data, enabling a more responsive and accurate ranking process for new items. Now let's dive into figure 3 from the 2023 patent to see how Amazon tackles the cold start problem. This figure provides a step-by-step overview on how Amazon's system processes and ranks new items that lack user interaction data. The process begins with the training of a machine learning model. This model is trained utilizing existing data stored in the training data storage, which is 114. The data includes items already on Amazon that share similar attributes. These attributes are crucial because they allow the system to understand the correlation between product characteristics and user behavior, enabling the model to predict how a new item might perform. This is why it's vital to ensure that your listing is correctly set up and indexed from the start. Accurate categorization and complete attribute information, both in the front end and in the back end of the listing, are essential to optimizing how the model perceives and ranks your product. So myth number one, busted. The algorithm does not guarantee a boost just because your product is new. It depends on how well you optimize your listing and the attributes you include in the back end. Remember, adding only relevant information is crucial as it will score the relevancy between your product and the queries. Step number 2, receiving a user query. The system then waits for a user query. This could be a simple keyword research or a more complex phrase. The query, referred to as query 122, is crucial because it triggers the process of identifying and ranking relevant items, including the new product. The query is paired with potential items from the catalog, forming item query pairs. These pairs are then evaluated by the machine learning model to determine how well each item matches the user's search intent. Step number 3, identifying search results. When a user submits a query, the system identifies a set of relevant search results from the item database. This set includes both new items and the existing items. The prior prediction values are particularly important at this stage as they help determine the initial organic positioning of new items within the search results. Moving to step 4, applying the model to a new item. Once the machine learning model is trained, the cold start service 110 is activated to handle items with no interaction data. It uses the model to generate a prior prediction value for the new item. This value is an estimate of how likely users are to engage with the new product based on the performance of similar existing items. The prior prediction value is key in this early phase as it provides an initial rank estimate for the new item before any real user data is available. For a visual representation of what prior prediction means, check the section on the evolution of the cold start in the article, where we break down these concepts visually for easier understanding. Moving to step number 5, which is ranking the search results. At this step, the identified search results are then ranked by the system based on the likelihood of the conversion. This step involves comparing the prior prediction values of the new items against historical data of existing items. So if a new item has a high prior prediction value, it might be ranked higher than older items that have less favorable data, despite those older items having been on Amazon for a longer time. So when we talk about behavioral features and query item pairs, we need to understand that the ranking process also incorporates behavioral features, which are derived from user interactions such as clicks, purchases, and so on. These features help the model assess how likely it is that a user will engage with a particular item based on past behaviors. By analyzing the query item pairs through the lens of these behavioral features, the system can more accurately rank items even when they are new and lack direct user interaction data. Which gets us to step 6, our final step, which is displaying ranked search results. So finally, the ranked search results are displayed to the user. This is the first real test for the new item. Its visibility at this stage is crucial for gathering the interaction data it needs to further refine its ranking. So myth number 2, there is no guaranteed boost for 30 days. As soon as the algorithm starts gathering real user data, the system transitions from using prior prediction to relying on actual user interaction data, which ultimately determines your product's rank. In figure 3, we see how the system operates initially, but further details, especially on how ranking evolves with real user data, will be covered by Danny's video discussing figure number 5. So in conclusion, as the patent outlines, Amazon's use of prior prediction values helped to mitigate this issue by giving a new item a starting point. Yet, these prediction values are just that, predictions. The real challenge comes in covering these predictions into real user interaction. This is where your launching strategy becomes critical. To maximize your product's chances of success, ensure your listing is built correctly and focus on driving high quality, relevant traffic to your page as soon as it launches. The quicker Amazon can gather meaningful interaction data, the faster it can transition from relying on those initial predictions to using real data. The transition is what ultimately determines whether your product will succeed or tank on Amazon.
In this part of the article, I've switched to a video format as I thought it'd be much easier to break this down and narrate it from start to finish. Firstly, I'll use product examples to make this more digestible. Secondly, here are 3 things I want you to learn and understand, shorthand and internalize, as these will be a constant theme throughout the video. Now, if you can understand these 3 technical terms, it will open up a new world for you around ranking. They are, which is called priors, which is initial guess before new data. The second one is posterior, which is updated guess after new data. And then the third one is Bayesian update, which is the process of refining guesses with new information. Now, this is an oversimplification, but it will help you understand how ranking works based on the technology used. I'll also reference semantic, BERT and COSMO, and how they fit in based on the science literature. And at a future date, I will address RUFUS as well. I'll also cover a lot of the theories around the honeymoon period, including resetting the honeymoon period, getting the honeymoon period every time, having a bad honeymoon period, deleting an ASIN for 72 hours in order to get a refresh and a rank boost, and then of course it drops. Then you've got the 30 to 60 day grace period. Some recommend 7 to 14, but Oana goes into depth in that in the article. I'll also cover predominantly the 7 to 14 days. Also, why giveaways are like a crack pipe that you need to keep feeding, and why you should be obsessed with attributes as you are with keywords and indexing. And finally, what causes the halo effect with external traffic. Ironically, the term the halo effect refers to a cognitive bias. This means you're going to need to watch this video from start to finish, as I'll cover these points step by step in the diagram. All right, let's tap in. Okay, so let's start off. Before we go and break down the diagram, I think this is also important to cover as well, is how product search engines evolve over time, right? So product search engines across the board, not just Amazon, Google, Yahoo, etc., they develop over a gradual process, right? So what happens, newer technologies come in, they complement rather than completely replacing the old technology. So let me give you a basic overview on product engines as they evolve. So let's say early stages. In the early days of e-commerce, product search engines primarily relied on simple lexical matching, which involves keyword matching between user queries and product titles and descriptions. So the additional thing to that, it has basic filtering options for attributes like price and brand. Then as things start to advance, you've got semantic search capabilities, which were introduced to enhance lexical search, right? So it understands the user intent beyond exact keyword matches, right? So it recognizes things like misspellings and related terms, and it's good at handling natural language queries much more effectively. So importantly, semantic search did not replace lexical search entirely, but what's happened is it augmented to provide more relevant results. Then you've got machine learning algorithms, which were later incorporated to further improve search relevance. So personalized ranking based on user behavior and preferences, improved handling of long tail queries, and better understanding of product relationships and their attributes. Then you've got large language models, right? So with the introduction of LLMs, this year's added another layer of sophistication. So more natural language understanding and generation, improved ability to handle complex conversational queries. And then of course, there's the enhanced product recommendations and explanations. So if we were looking at the current state, and these were all weighted differently. So with the advent of modern product search engines, they all typically combine all of these technologies together. It may look something like lexical matching for the basic keyword relevance, and then semantic understanding for the intent and context. And then you've got the machine learning for personalization and ranking, and then you've got the LLMs for advanced natural language processing and generation. So this layered approach allows product search engines to handle, a wider range of query types, and then it meets the end user's needs effectively. So if we look at, say, future trends, I think we're going to see this continue evolve. So you're going to see increased integration of, say, visual search capabilities, and then you've got more sophisticated voice and conversational interfaces. Then you've got enhanced use of AI for predictive and anticipatory search. So in conclusion here, the evolution really of a product search engines has been categorized as integration of new technologies alongside existing ones rather than wholesale replacements. So this approach has allowed for continuous improvement whilst maintaining robust and reliable search functionality. All right, let's get into more of some of the fun stuff. Now you understand the fundamentals. So we're going to look at the integration of semantic matching, BERT and COSMO. Again, we're going to base this on figure 5 as in the previous section. So starting with 502, receiving training data on existing items and queries. So semantic matching. Here, semantic matching techniques are used to understand the meaning behind the user queries and product descriptions. So for example, if the training data includes queries like nourishing beard oil and product descriptions that mention deep conditioning, semantic matching can help the system to recognize these are related concepts. In terms of BERT, which stands for bidirectional encoder representations from transformers, bit of a mouthful, just remember BERT. So BERT enhances the system's ability to understand the context of the training data by analyzing the relationship between the words in both the query and the product description. So BERT would help the system understand that the best beard oil for dry skin implies a product that is moisturizing or hydrating. Now with COSMO, which is a common sense knowledge graph, adds a layer of understanding by connecting related concepts that might not be explicitly mentioned in the data. So for example, it could help the system recognize products like aloe vera are often good for sensitive skin, and even if the training data doesn't directly link them to these terms. Moving on to 504. So back again, we're going to blend the two here of semantic matching and BERT, and then we'll get into COSMO. So during the training phase, the machine learning model uses insights from the semantic matching and BERT to learn complex relationships between the queries and products. This helps the model better predict what products are relevant to specific queries, like understanding that a refreshing scent might relate to citrus beard oil, as an example. Now, COSMO contributes by providing additional context from the knowledge graph, such as common user preferences and behavioral patterns. This helps the model understand the broader trends, like users who buy organic beard oil often prefer an unscented option. 506, receiving a query. When a user submits a query like beard oil for growth, semantic matching and BERT are used to parse the query, understanding the intent behind the best, e.g. highly rated popular, and products with ingredients like castor oil. So BERT's deep contextual understanding allows the system to accurately match the query with the relevant products. In terms of COSMO, COSMO enhances the query interpretation by adding common sense reasoning, like recognizing the user's search for growth-related beard oils might also value products with natural or chemical-free labels, even if they're not directly mentioned in the query. 508, retrieving search results. With semantic matching and BERT, these technologies are crucial in retrieving the most relevant search results by matching the user's intent with the product attributes. For example, they help ensure that a search for hydrated beard oil surfaces products specifically described as moisturizing or for dry skin. Now, COSMO contributes by ensuring the products with indirect but relevant attributes are also considered. So for instance, if a product has coconut oil, which is known for hydrating properties, COSMO helps the system recognize the connection, even if hydration isn't explicitly listed in the product description. Now, as a side note here, when we talk in terms of algorithms and product description, we're not breaking them individually down to say, that's the product description, here's the bullet points, and here's the title. We're saying product description. That's everything, okay? And I've mentioned this numerous times on the podcast. BERT and semantic do not require the lexical matching of a keyword that is indexed. 510, determine if an item is legible as a cold start item. So with BERT and COSMO, for new items with limited data, BERT helps predict relevance by comparing the product's description with similar well-established products. COSMO further enriches the process by providing contextual insights from the knowledge graph, such as identifying that a new tea tree beard oil might appear to users interested in anti-inflammatory properties, which is common in products for sensitive skin. 512, apply machine learning model to output a prior. So here we'll cover all three, semantic matching, BERT and COSMO. So the machine learning model, enhanced by semantic matching and BERT, uses the prior predictions informed by the product's attributes and the similarities to other products. COSMO adds a common sense layer, helping to adjust these prior predictions by considering broader trends and connections, such as the understanding that a product marketed for beard growth might be as popular among users searching for thicker beards. 518, apply Bayesian formula to prior. So Bayesian updating with BERT and COSMO. As the system collects more user interaction data, BERT's deep understanding of context helps refine the prior into a posterior prediction by accurately interpreting how the product's description aligns with user behavior. COSMO enhances this by ensuring that the common sense connections, example, the popularity of organic ingredients, are factored into the updated predictions. 522, again, all three, semantic matching, BERT and COSMO. The final presentation of ranked search results is significantly influenced by semantic matching and BERT, ensuring that products at the top of the list are those that are most closely aligned with the user's intent. COSMO helps ensure that the list also reflects broader user preferences and common sense connections, such as prioritizing organic or vegan beard oils if these trends are popular among similar queries. 524, receive interaction data, and 526, update historical data. So we blend these two together because this is the feedback loop with BERT and COSMO. So a user interacts with the search results. BERT helps interpret the nuances of these interactions, e.g. why a certain beard oil is frequently clicked on but rarely purchased. And COSMO aids in updating the historical data with the broader understanding, such as recognizing emerging trends in user preferences that weren't previously apparent. 530, ongoing refinement with BERT and COSMO. If the new queries are present, the system repeats the process with the updated and refined data. Continuously learning and improving, BERT ensures that each new query is understood in context, while COSMO provides the common sense insights necessary to make connections that enhance the relevance for future search results. So, in summary, semantic, BERT and COSMO collectively enhance the product search and ranking process by providing deeper context, better understanding of user intent, and broader common sense reasoning. Semantic matching and BERT ensure that the user's queries are accurately interpreted and then matched with the relevant products, while COSMO adds an additional layer of contextual understanding that helps refine predictions and improve the accuracy of search results. Together, these technologies contribute to a more intelligent and responsive system, capable of delivering highly relevant and contextually appropriate product recommendations, even in the face of complex queries on new product launches. Speaking of launches, let's get into what you're really here for, which is the honeymoon period. But be prepared, as we may break a few hearts along the way. Okay, let's get into the honeymoon side of things. Basically, let's start with three parts of the diagram which we're going to cover, which would be 502, 512 and 516. So at 502, deleting and reintroducing an async with the same attributes may initially confuse the system into treating it as new, but it soon adjusts since the model recognizes the product's historical data. At 512, The model might assign a temporary prior to reintroduce the async, suggesting new user engagement. However, since the attributes remain unchanged, historical data quickly influences the prior, resulting in no lasting rank boost. And at 5.16, once user interactions with the reintroduced async are collected, the Bayesian update rapidly refines the predictions, reverting the ranking to reflect the product's true performance. So in summary, the reason it doesn't sustain is because you're getting what's called a temporary effect. So any initial rank increase is short-lived. You've got to remember algorithms now are sophisticated, and so they'll have pattern recognition and they'll make quick adjustments to nullify any artificial ranking increase resulting from the deletion of the async. And then you've got the rapid adjustment. So again, rankings quickly return to organic levels once the model has enough data reflecting the true user behavior rather than the perceived novelty of the async. So in short, deleting an async only briefly stimulates a reset period. So the algorithm's swift recalibration based on real user data makes this tactic ineffective for sustained rank improvement. Okay, so this will go along the similar lines as the deleting of the async. So resetting the honeymoon period on a new async. Why doesn't this work as expected? So 5.02, the system gathers historical data on products, including attributes, images, and descriptions. When you create a new async with the same product attributes, the system likely recognizes the product is very similar to the one that was previously in the database. Even though it's a new async, the underlying data is not entirely new to the system. So 5.12, the machine learning model uses the historical data to assign a prior value to the new async. If the system identifies the attributes are identical or very similar to a previous deleted async, the prior value may not be significantly different from what it was before, especially if there were patterns in user behavior associated with these attributes. The system's goal is to predict user engagement based on similarities to other products, and simply resetting the async does not erase the historical patterns associated with those attributes. So at 5.16, as user interaction data begins to accumulate, again for the new async, the system checks whether there's enough data to update its predictions. Since the product is essentially the same, user interactions may quickly resemble those of a previous async. The Bayesian update process refines the prior prediction, incorporating the new but similar data to generate a more accurate posterior value. So why doesn't it reset? The algorithm is designed to recognize patterns and similarities. So simply resetting the async doesn't trick the system into thinking it's a completely different product because the attributes and the user interactions are still similar. The prior predictions remain influenced by the history of similar products, leading to similar rankings and visibility outcomes. The Bayesian approach ensures that as soon as the system gathers even a small amount of interaction data on the new async, it will adjust its predictions accordingly. If the new data mirrors the old, the product's ranking will quickly revert to a state reflecting its true performance, not the artificially boosted state of the initial honeymoon period. In essence, while the async may be new, the algorithm's sophistication in recognizing patterns and updating predictions based on the Bayesian methods means the tactic won't effectively reset the product's performance in the way sellers might hope. Okay, so let's talk about the honeymoon grace period. Oana's covered in the article 30 to 60 days. I'm just going to do 7 to 14, gives it slightly different dynamics, but it will have the same meaning behind it also. So the belief is the honeymoon period lasts for 7 to 14 days, some say 30 to 60, during which a new product enjoys boosted rankings, regardless of performance. Now, this is going to be very key as it comes up shortly. And this is based on observations that new products often appear prominently in search results shortly after launch. However, this time frame is not a guaranteed grace period where performance doesn't impact rankings. Instead, it's part of a dynamic process where the system is actively gathering data to refine its ranking predictions. So why doesn't this work as expected? So if we go to 5.02, when a new product such as a beard oil is introduced, the system initially lacks specific user interaction data. So the system uses data from similar existing products to create an initial prior prediction of how this new product might perform, giving it some visibility in the search results. Then at 512, the machine learning model applies this prior based on similarities to the other beard oils in the system. This allows the new product to be ranked and displayed to users even before it's accumulated interaction data. And then at 516, as soon as the product starts getting clicks, purchases and reviews, the system begins collecting interaction data. So within the first 7 to 14 days, the algorithm is particularly active in updating its predictions. So the Bayesian update process adjusts the initial prior as soon as the sufficient data is available, reflecting the product's ranking to be more accurately reflected by its performance. So why is the 7 to 14 days grace period perception is misleading? So the algorithm doesn't wait for a specific number of days before it starts adjusting the rankings. Instead, it continuously updates its predictions as new data comes in. So if the product performs well, the initial ranking might be maintained or even improved. However, if the product underperforms, its ranking will quickly adjust downward, often within the first few days. So whilst this early data is crucial, in the first 7 to 14 days, right, this is still a critical period, but not as what people think. So it's critical because it's not based on a grace period that you get away with for 14 days, because during this time, the system is gathering data to determine whether the product should be continued to be promoted, not a grace period. So if the early interaction data is positive, the product may continue to enjoy higher visibility. Conversely, if the product doesn't attract much attention or has negative feedback, the system will lower its ranking based on the new data. So there is no fixed honeymoon period duration. The system goal is to quickly learn about the product's potential, and the Bayesian update mechanism ensures that the ranking reflects this learning as soon as enough data is available. The process can start influencing rankings well before or after the 7 to 14 day mark, depending on how quickly the product accumulates interaction data. So in summary, whilst the first 7 to 14 days are critical in terms of gathering data and refining predictions, this time frame does not represent a fixed grace period where the product is shielded from negative ranking adjustments. The system is continuously updating as its understanding of the product's performance, and the ranking will adjust accordingly based on real-time data rather than a preset period of time. Okay, a guaranteed and or bad honeymoon period. So why products may not get a honeymoon period every time, and why would they experience bad honeymoon periods? I've tied these two together, but they're not too different to the two previous ones I mentioned. So 502, when a new product is launched, the system uses historical data from similar products to create a prior prediction. If the product shares many attributes with the previously unsuccessful products, or has characteristics that the system recognizes as not highly engaging, it may not receive the same level of visibility boost as the other products. This means that not every product automatically gets a strong honeymoon period. At 512, the model applies this prior value to estimate how the products might perform. If the system has detected patterns where similar products didn't perform well, the prior prediction might be more conservative. This could lead to the product not being as prominently featured during its initial launch. Then at 516, as soon as the product starts to gather interaction data, the Bayesian update process begins refining its initial prediction. If the early interactions are not promising, the product's ranking may quickly adjust downward, leading to what sellers perceive as a bad honeymoon period. So why some products might have what is called a bad honeymoon period? So it's the influence here of the data. So the cold start system's reliance on historical data means that the initial prior prediction might not be favorable if similar products have historically performed poorly. This can result in lower visibility from the start, which sellers might interpret it as a bad honeymoon period. Then you've got the rapid adjustment. If a product doesn't perform well in its first few days or weeks, the system will quickly adjust its ranking downward. This is the result of the Bayesian updating process, which continuously refines predictions based on actual user interactions. So a bad honeymoon period can occur if the product fails to meet the system's expectations early on, leading to rapid demotion in search rankings. Why some products might never be picked up by the cold start system. So not all products receive the same level of attention from the cold start system. If a product's attributes don't stand out or align with the patterns that the system has learned to associate with high engagement, it may not get the same visibility boost as others. This can make it seem like the product was never picked up by the cold start system. This one's a very interesting one and probably going to upset a few people. Okay, product saturation. So in highly saturated markets like beard oils, the system might prioritize new products that have unique or highly appealing features. A product that doesn't differentiate itself sufficiently might not receive as much visibility during the cold start phase, making it seem as though it didn't get a honeymoon period. So in summary, the honeymoon period or the cold start phase is not a guaranteed boost for every new product. It's a dynamic process driven by historical data, product attributes, remember I said that earlier on, and early user interactions. A product might not experience a strong honeymoon period if it shares attributes with underperforming products, or it doesn't quickly gather positive user interactions. So additionally, in saturated markets or cases where the products don't stand out, it may seem the product never got a honeymoon period at all. The system is designed to quickly adapt and refine rankings based on actual data, meaning the products that didn't perform well earlier on will see their rankings adjusted accordingly. All right, guys, hope you have enjoyed that. It was pretty heavy stuff that you're going to have to play back. So we'll leave it here for this week. When we come back on the 17th for part 2, I'll go over figure 5 more in depth in terms of there's a 27-minute recording that I've done for that will then embed more based on what Oana did in figure 3. I elaborate on that with figure 5. We obviously covered semantic BERT and COSMO. And then I'll go into a section on giveaways. We know pretty much giveaways drop off, but no one really knows the science behind why they drop off and why they never stick, etc., etc. So we'll break that down so you've got absolute clarity on that. And then we'll also cover external traffic, where it can be really good based on the cold start system, and obviously bringing in COSMO, BERT, and semantic as well. So you've got the full coloration, and then why it doesn't work. So Oana, I'm going to sign off. What's the best way that people can reach you?
Definitely through LinkedIn. As I mentioned also last time, I'm very active on LinkedIn. That would be my main platform. Definitely. If you have any questions, I just love to geek out on stuff like that. That's how all this came with Danny as well. So super curious to see what people think when the article comes out. Super excited for that. And yeah, again, thank you. Excellent. Thank you, everybody.
All right, guys, we're going to sign off. Take care of yourself and your family. Much love, and I'll see you again.